Hello and welcome to HyperInfluence, or how to build, track and measure influence strategies. From winning a deal to securing funding for a project or to win an election, influencing people is key to secure the required outcome. In this video, I want to show how, with MicroStrategy and HyperIntelligence, you could model a strategy to bring about an outcome, define the entities, humans and organizations, that have an impact on the outcome, assign influence initiatives to team members so that the outcome can be directed, and then finally measure and track the progress of these initiatives. Let's look at a real-world example. This is the entrance to the local hospital where I live. It's been partially closed since 2006, and town residents are up in arms about this. They want the hospital to be reinstated. So the outcome we want here is we want a hospital reinstated. These are some of the people and entities that we need to influence. We've got the Department of Health and Social Care, which is run by the Right Honourable Matt Hancock, MP. We have the NHS, which is the healthcare organisation for the UK. We have NHS Hearts Valleys, which is what's called a CCG, a clinical commissioning group. Now, they are the people responsible for commissioning services and who will be funding the hospital. And then we have our local MP, Sir Mike Penning. But first, we need to model our influence strategy. Right, so here we are inside a MicroStrategy dossier, and what we've done is that we've designed the influence network to secure the outcome, which is our hospital in Hemel. So we can see that we've got our outcome here. We have our entities. We've got the CCG, we've got the Department of Health, we've got NHS England, and we've got various people attached to it. Okay, and we've got our MP. So our MP is favourable towards a hospital, which is why the arrow there is green. All the other entities at the moment are either indifferent or against it, which is why they're red. Out of the CCG, which is an important factor into the decision, we have one person called Mr. Yellow, who is green. That means they're friendly to our outcome, and the others are either independent or not. In the case of Mrs. Green, what we've got is we've got a number of strategies that we've employed, or that we're about to deploy, to try and change Mrs. Green from red to green. And the idea is that by tracking and applying strategies to all the different actors for all these different entities, we will turn these arrows green, which should, in principle, lead to a positive outcome. So that's how our influencer network system works. The key thing also is that it's all about people. So it's not only about people that we need to influence, but we also need people to do the influencing. So let's assume for a moment that we have a PR company, organization, who have given charming names like Charles, Penelope and Evander, because obviously they're very sophisticated millennials. And what they do is that they've all been assigned either an entity or a person, and strategies have been derived to actually work on these people to turn the entities, the arrows there, from red to green. We can click on a particular node to see what the assignments are. We can also view all sorts of things. Let's switch back to Hemel Hospital. I'm not going to dwell too long on this because this is about hyperintelligence. But the idea is to show you that we've got a strategy network there, an influencer network, where we can track strategies that apply to people, and we can see the progress of turning these arrows from red to green. So I can hear you ask, where does hyperintelligence come into all this? Well, our three PR people, Charles, Evander and Penelope, being millennials, spend an awful lot of time on the web, on social media, on their mobiles, communicate a lot by email, and hyperintelligence has got touch points with all these delivery devices. We're going to look at the web, for instance, here. Now, they've got to do a lot of research. Not only that, but when they come up with something interesting, they're going to need to update their strategies so they can formulate new ones or put extra information or enter something based on an email that would mean that, you know, we've increased the positive sentiment of an actor in an entity that would lead to our outcome. And HyperIntelligence is perfect for that because it surfaces into the web, into Outlook, onto mobile, bits of your MicroStrategy installation that you are going to need to look at. So let's have a quick look. We see that, for instance, there, Matt Hancock, who is the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, has his name underlined in green there. When we do that, we get a HyperCard pop up, and this tells us who the person is. They're a Secretary of State, they're a person. Penelope is our PR person assigned to look after Mr. Hancock, and we see we've got various ratings there, which will tell us, for instance, how important the person is in the decision, what is the threshold of the sentiment that person needs to be for the arrow to turn green in the stuff that we looked at previously. Okay, so we've got Matt Hancock there. What else do we look at? So if we look at, for instance, Mike Pennin, our MP, you can see there, he's also there. If we click on that, then we've got his card come up that says he's a member of Parliament. His weight is 30. His sentiment is 6. Yeah, it's looking quite good, really. Let's see who else we have. That's for Hemel Hempstead Hospital. I don't think we've got any hyper triggers on there. And then finally, let's look at Sir Christopher Warmold, who is a permanent secretary at the Department of Health and Social Care. So he's actually quite powerful. He's a very high-ranking civil servant. He is supposed to be completely devoid of any political influence, but he is the person who implements policy, and therefore an important person to have on our side if we want our hospital. So let's see what happens if I hover over him. So yep, then again we see that his sentiment is 1. He's fairly, doesn't really care about Hemel Hempstead Hospital, and Penelope's job is obviously to make him care. So we can use the HyperCard because we've got a point there, a link that allows us to go and update the strategy to devise strategies or to input new information. So you can see that HyperIntelligence is a useful addition to our little influence system in order to inform the people who are pursuing the strategy with the latest information, and also to allow them to capture that information quickly without having to fire up, a system to log in. Okay, so HyperIntelligence is pretty good for that purpose.